What would you like to know an example of?
I know you said that there's like barriers.
Everyone rolls their eyes. Pearl has already established herself as like the annoying one on the panel. Even the conservatives are like, ugh. We're about to talk about women's rights, and we're about to talk about women's wrongs, baby. Last time I watched like a Jubilee-style video where feminists were debating each other, I had that famous moment where I said, I hate women so much. Oh my God! If anyone says Amy Coney Barrett is a feminist, I'm gonna lose my mind. Okay, well, let's see.
Barrett.
What? Okay, all right. Put every liberal in a spaceship, dude. Send them out to orbit. Are you joking? Are you kidding me? Oh my God, I hate women. I hate women so much. I've literally never hated women and feminists more in this very moment than I do right now. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh God, I hate women so much. Oh, what the? Oh, what is happening, dude? Oh, stop. I can't. This is hurting my brain. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hopefully I will try to avoid that heated moment again, but it's going to be hard. Let's watch.
We are here today to talk about some of the biggest issues dividing women across the country. In other words, we're here to talk about feminism. In today's polarized world, is feminism dead? You guys saw your hand.
I think that depends on the definition of feminism. I strongly think that feminism is more of an action than an identity. I would say it's uplifting all women, in which case.
This haircut in England would automatically cause me to assume that this is a TERF. In America, automatically intersectional feminist. Okay? Straight up.
It's very alive. At the same time, feminism has splintered off into so many different areas that you can look at people like Sheryl Sandberg who say you should just get another nanny if you feel oppressed. And if we're talking about that kind of feminism, yeah, it's pretty dead.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us. I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often. And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
Similar to what Pearl just said, I find that a lot of feminist ideology and thought today feels more of like a supremacist movement rather than some.
Pearl and this lady are both right-wing commentators, by the way. Like, this is their job. Once again, we have a situation where, you know, you have pitted people who do this professionally against people who are just like kind of chilling. It's always like that.
Something that is supposed to be advancing the goals of equality. I don't think that we can really term what's going on as feminism because it looks so different to, I think, the earlier feminist movements. So in that way, I would say it's taken its last breaths of life. It's dying.
5 of the 9 women there are conservative. That is the least surprising thing. There's 2 reasons for this. One, because conservatives are better content. Let's be real for a moment, okay? Take a deep breath and admit certain things. Conservatives are content, okay? It's just the truth. So all these like demon producers often recognize that reality and move accordingly. The other reason where you often have, you know, the majority be conservative, and not just conservative, but also like professional media conservatives, is because that's just how the media is. They have to create a false sense of conservative attitude and greatly exaggerate how conservative America is when 65% of women are pro-choice. Conservative women are pro-choice. I wonder when the abortion conversation comes into play, what percentage of these carefully crafted panelists are actually going to be pro-choice? Will they adequately represent the American population? Of course not. Or will they, as a matter of fact, dominate the conversation and make it seem to the audience as though there are more conservative opinions out there than you would suspect?
Is rooted in America and like, oh, white women started it. And it's kind of offensive because for thousands of years, women have been dying for their rights.
I think feminism is attempting to say, okay, the first thing we agree on is that there are barriers and friction to what I need and what I want based on the fact that I'm a woman.
Yeah, see, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl, actually.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of benefits that men don't have. I'm not going to speak anything to race. I'm just talking about gender specifically. It's usually like an excuse. Like, honestly, I think as a girl, you have equal opportunity in the world. I think there's benefits. Like, for example, we have quotas for women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So yeah, I would say it's easier being a girl.
Just from a viewpoint over here, though.
I mean, you could say that about race as well. It's usually to correct a historic wrong, you know? However, it's silly to look at that and go, and that's precisely why it's easier. I think the reason why she avoided talking about that from the perspective of race is because she understands as a media personality how dumb and racist she would look. Oh my God, dude. Pearl is just saying her 3 talking points that work on her podcast. Yeah, I think they're going to eat her ass alive here. I think, like, even though there are more conservative voices on this panel than there are, you know, progressive ones, I think that the progressive voices that you do have here, I assume will, you know, eat her ass alive.
It seems there's a lot of pretty privilege in what you're saying, and that you're white and you present.
Wait, no, she did not just say there's pretty privilege in what you're saying while talking to just pearly things. Listen, if there's one person who doesn't have pretty privilege, come on. Come on now. Come on now.
Do you think I'm pretty? Thank you.
I think that you
Yeah, even Pearly was like, that's crazy. I didn't say it. She did. I should have just kept it rolling.
present in a way that beauty standards have accepted. And so
They call me ugly on the internet all the time. They be roasting me daily, I swear to God.
I don't mean to say I think you're gorge. I just mean
Ooh.
that there a certain value that we give to certain bodies.
She still flipped it and cooked her. Ooh.
I mean, let's also dig into why these quotas exist and why these, what you're calling
because we
privileges
want special
exist.
treatment.
No, it's because there have historically and presently in most jobs been fewer women, and because of sexism.
Well, yeah, but immediately you'd be like, that's because women suck. It's so good. It's so, dude, being a conservative is so f***ing dope, dude. You could just be like the dumbest person on the planet and like you still get to have a say because like American media has this like weird notion of like respecting every idea, no matter how idiotic it is, right? You just say anything and it's like people go, that's right, that's my lady right there.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can pick
Who has
what
no
we want to
barriers?
pick.
Doesn't have barriers.
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do whatever
barriers.
you want. What's
I
stopping
can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you? As a woman.
As a woman.
No, that's awkward ass conversation, bro. Stop.
Ignores a lot that I'm a woman with a disability. So there's a lot stopping me that you don't have to think about.
Well,
Things
as I
you don't
said
have to
before, I'm
think about.
speaking about women. I'm not.
You're
I'm
speaking
not,
you're speaking for yourself.
You're speaking as
an able-bodied
able-bodied
white woman.
I
that is
understand.
white.
Presents white.
Of course, there's going to be other barriers if you're disabled. I'm sure. Like I'm talking about as a woman.
So you're
I
just
would
going to
agree.
ignore
White
the
women
pay
have it
gap.
easier. Yes, I would agree.
What?
Oh no! Oh, this panel is shot, dog. Oh no! Here we go, baby. Woo! Ooh wee, dude. Oh my lord. Why is anyone allowing this woman to speak in public? I agree. Why is anyone allowing women to speak in public in general? You know what I'm saying? These are things that I think of when I watch content like this. Okay. I'm just kidding. Ironic misogyny is still misogyny. I know.
You're just going to ignore the pay gap, regulation over body.
Well, where were you timing me? It took 6 minutes and 52 seconds.
Gap has been
Well,
disproven
the
and
pay gap
debunked
doesn't
endlessly,
exist.
my friend.
It doesn't.
that's so
It's
funny.
the industries that women pick.
Let's talk about it.
There's a pay gap, but it's because women don't want to do the hardest industries.
I don't think it's that simple.
This is like always a hilarious take to me because like women don't want to do the hardest industries and it's like half the time they're talking about like menial labor, right? They're like working at an oil rig or working at a construction yard and shit, right? It's like it's not like those industries are paying the best either. You know what I mean? Like that's so stupid.
I think that's an oversimplification. I think the fact of the matter is that women structure their lives differently to men. Men don't give birth. Men don't have to carry pregnancies. Men don't have to be the primary caregiver most of the time. Women also don't hold jobs for as long as men do. They often will stop and start. They'll go back into work. They'll take time off. They'll take part-time jobs. The way that men work and women work are astronomically different. And to try to say that they're comparable is where this issue comes from. They're not comparable.
Two things. First of all, let's dig into why they think that they should take these jobs, which is societal sexism. And then also, Department of Labor, all statistics, at least speaking in the US, have found that when compared for the same jobs, there still is a pay gap, particularly when it pertains to race.
Because 60% of women have never asked for a raise. So how can you complain about your pay if you don't ask for it?
Why are they not asking?
Wait, what happens when women ask for a raise?
Oh, that's funny, man. Women be shopping. Women don't be asking for raises. Boom, over. Conversation done. Dude, this is why I say it's so awesome to be a conservative. Like, you have such easy answers. It's like living life in a fairy tale. You know what I mean? Which is ironic because conservatives always say like leftists want to live in a fairy tale. It's like, no, motherfucker. No. Progressives want certain things that they recognize they do not currently have. Okay? That makes their lives a living hell all the time, because if you're constantly like advocating for emancipation and you're constantly advocating for equality, equal representation, you know, not having your civil liberties eroded all the goddamn time, and it still happens, like that's kind of shit. Whereas as a conservative, you can look at that and go, oh, it's because they just didn't ask for it. Didn't ask for it. That's it. That's a fairy tale. You're just like lying to yourself.
Sorry, I've been wanting to say something, but I want to be respectful. I don't want to interrupt people, and I want to let them finish their thoughts.
Jump in.
It's so dumb. There are so many industries. By the way, again, this is why the male-female dichotomy is like such a silly one, because there are female-dominated industries where women notoriously and very publicly demand raises regularly and yet get their shit pushed in by even federal authorities at certain points. One of the examples I will use immediately is teachers, okay? Teachers unions have engaged in wildcat strikes. Teachers in Oklahoma still have an incredibly tough job and yet make like $30,000 a year. It's unacceptable. They literally have to work a second job, sometimes a third job on top of that for survival wages. Another industry dominated by women is nursing. Nurses are also doing horrifyingly gruesome work, so hard, unimaginably difficult. Like if you think that, you know, oh, people only rugged men who work at the oil rig have a tough job. Yeah, dude, talk to me when you're, you know, trying to hold down a dude who's like foaming out of the mouth and like blood spurting out of their guts. Okay, I would go so far as to say housekeeping is an incredibly difficult job within the hospitality industry as well. There are a lot of jobs that are dominated by women that get no attention from the media, that where women are very routinely, very regularly demanding higher pay and higher wages. Also, the argument that like this is a male-female dynamic is a silly one. Why is it a silly one? Because no matter what your background is, no matter what your ethnic background is, no matter what your religion is, no matter what your sexual orientation is, okay? No matter what your sector is, you are still a worker. You are still getting over by your bosses. You still want to work the least amount of hours for the highest amount of pay. Your bosses, on the other hand, want you to work the most amount of hours for the least amount of pay that they can get away with. So these kinds of conversations, unironically, destroy class solidarity. And they are very successful at destroying class solidarity. It is deeply frustrating to see this on the boundaries of men and women when both men and women are getting over under capitalism. It's very, very frustrating.
When I'm thinking about feminism, I'm always thinking about who's not part of the conversation. What are the barriers? How do we think about equity? How do we think about self-empowerment and agency and having a voice, right? And having choice and thinking about our basic human rights. It's like there are the barriers, right, that we constantly ignore that are very much systemic and microaggressive, right? We see them and experience them every day.
Like what in the U.S.?
So,
like what?
What would you like to know an example of? So
I know you said that there's like barriers.
Everyone rolls their eyes. Pearl has already established herself as like the annoying one on the panel. Even the conservatives are like, ugh, Jesus Christ.
I want to know what barriers in the U.S. today as a woman.
Well, as a woman or as a woman of color? Let's be specific.
As a woman. I said as a woman.
Well, no, I can't answer as a woman.
I
I'm
just feel like
not
your
a woman,
question is
right?
kind of hostile.
I hate this. She's like using, look, I don't know why it's so difficult. Like, this is what happens when you're talking to a person who does this professionally, okay? Because they know how to trip you up. This is what they do for a living. It doesn't make them more intelligent, and it certainly does not make them correct. It just, again, means that they are good at the format. It's like being the best test taker, okay? What she's doing in that regard is like, what are the boundaries that you have as a woman? This should be relatively simple to explain, especially as we're coming off the heels of the abortion conversation. Women do not have bodily autonomy in this country. How the is no one bringing that up? But I do not fault them for not bringing that up, because when you're put on the spot like that, unless you are a media person, you're going to have a hard time coming up with the adequate counter to that, okay?
When you're like, there are no barriers to what I want. Congratulations. That means you have a privilege where you're not facing any friction, and that's showing, and I feel like it's
I think as an American, you're very privileged.
I'm not ignoring that.
Yeah,
We're like a basic level of what, the feminist movement movement.
That's not how this works. Yes, as an American living in the imperial core, you are profoundly fortunate. You are much better off than, let's say, a woman living in Afghanistan, okay? Taliban occupied Afghanistan. That doesn't change the reality that you as a woman within your own realm should get over worse than the men, okay?
I keep hearing the term equity. What would a world that has equity look like? Like, would it be 50% of everyone in the same jobs? Would it be like prison, 50%?
That's equality.
50%.
Yeah,
So what does equity look like?
So equity is generally described as a state of fairness because historically a lot of people have been arguing for equality, but what does that give us? Like 0.5 of the 1% being women, this doesn't really do anything for us. And so people have talked about equity instead, which is instead of sameness, it's fairness. And this would mean that we remove systemic barriers to engage in society, not just for women, but also for everyone.
So which barriers?
Those
Okay,
barriers that you
so-
don't believe in.
What does it do
Go
for
on.
you to have a bunch of ramps in your life? It doesn't do shit. I need those ramps, right?
Can we stick to male versus female? That's my question. So I'm thinking male versus female.
She's using that as an example. She needs ramps, you don't. Women need things that you yourself are failing to recognize. If historically society has over women, stopped them from participating in the workplace, and women's freedom, sexual freedom, even now is like a relatively new phenomena, and even now is not like fully achieved, or women's freedom in the workplace is now still not fully achieved, then yeah, there are still plenty of barriers to work on. I mean, bro, even something as simple as like periods, dude. Like, just society is not designed in a way where women were thought about, you know? It's just an afterthought for the most part. You just kind of have to deal with it on your own, no matter what happens. And we take a lot of shit for granted as men because men are the default, right? So we just assume that that is the normal situation, and that like women being in the workplace is actually an abomination. It's like not normal, and we're just like kind of allowing them to do playtime in the workforce. Like, that's crazy. The entire purpose of progressive intersectional feminism is about allowing people to have that choice, allowing women to have that choice.
But my feminism includes ability, it includes
but my
race.
question is
You
for
guys
women.
can talk.
For
You
women
can talk.
versus men. Like, what barriers do we need to remove? Because that's my statement. I'm not stating anything else. I'm stating women versus men.
It's very silly.
Like, so what barrier?
Why is
I
it
just
silly?
want to.
How would you reply to her? I already did. The entire capitalist mode of production has historically been designed around men, male qualities, and men working in the workplace. The lack of adequate compensation for maternal leave, okay? The fact that there's only maternal leave and not even paternal leave, like, that's crazy, okay? The idea that like period cycles are just like an afterthought, okay? Things that like women have to take care of that are never really addressed or never really thought about. The amount of prejudice that people in positions of power still have towards women not being able to adequately do the same job or play the same roles that men play. You're not elevating women into positions of power because most of the people in positions of power so far have been men.
How is it not a fair question?
Kind of proving the point of what people, especially Black women, other people who are anybody who's not white, why we hear feminism and we don't want that label because it means, I'm just gonna say, it means that. Like, it means that you've already gone to a pinnacle of whatever you think your happiness needs or whatever your survivalist needs are, when there are people on lower end who are trying to survive, who are trying to get to a point of what should be normal based on what other people have.
It sort of sounds like you're saying feminism is not always inclusive then.
Right.
I mean, she's cooking them. She's a media person and she's cooking them. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, the average Norman who's already inclined to agree with what she's saying, both men and women, by the way, because like we always forget women's role in upholding misogyny, or women's role in also, believing in misogynistic constructs as a consequence of this being like a very powerful method of social conditioning under patriarchy. People are going to look at this and go, she's cooking them.
Question
It's a
is
fair
silly.
question.
So, yeah, but I'm
It's
saying-
not a fair question.
This is bad. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. We deserve bad things. We don't deserve good things. We deserve bad things. We will never have good things. Are you kidding me, dude? Oh,